Hello, welcome to Open Oven. My name is Mike Smith. I am a guy who likes to cook. I am not a chef. I've explained this earlier, but I do enjoy cooking all kinds of different food, different cultures. Whenever I can try something new, or if I combine something that I'm used to doing with different spices, and that's kind of where we're at tonight. So today we're going to make an European Indian fusion dish. It's basically a version of shepherd's pie, and so we're going to give that a shot, a little bit of a mixture, and see where we go. So first thing is, again, I'm using my ceramic heater or hot plate, and going to get that heated up. You can use really any ground meat, obviously culturally. If you don't want to use pork, or if you don't want to use beef or chicken or whatever you may have it, you don't have to use whatever ground up meat. We have a pre-cooked beef here. We're going to use that. And we're going to get started. I'm just going to I probably don't need this, but I'm still going to put a little bit on there just to make sure. A little bit of cooking spray or oil. Most meat, as you know, has its own fat. You don't really have to use oil with it. But we're going to take about 2 cups of ground meat, depending on what meat you want to use. And I can hear it sizzling, so I know it's got some heat in it. And we're going to get that going. There's a lot of ingredients in this one. However, again, they're simple. The cooking time is about 30 minutes at the very end, and your prep time might be 10 or 15 minutes at the most. So again, you're getting a meal in, completely done in 30 to 45 minutes. So we've got the ground meat in there. I'll just lift that, you can kind of see. All right, and then we're going to add chickpeas. What you can do is, I'm going to usually would put 1.5 cups or so of chickpeas. We're going to actually combine, and we're going to put some lentils and some chickpeas. And so I'm going to use about 3/4 of a cup of both. So we'll go with our cup here. It's okay if a little bit falls out. A little bit short of a full cup. Get those in there. And then we'll do the same thing, about 3/4 of a cup of the lentils. There we go. Add that in there. For those of you like myself, I've mentioned on previous shows I'm diabetic, so I'm always looking for ways to create meals that aren't always high in carbs. Always looking for opportunities to add vegetables or beans or some type of healthy ingredient. And so I like my meat, but this gives you an opportunity to really add a lot of those things. So yes, you can make this. Obviously, you can just use the chickpeas if you like. I'm choosing to combine chickpeas with the lentils. So we want to get that hot, get that going. All All right. Take a peek at that. All right. Again, this is, it's going to end up being what I'm calling a shepherd's pie, but a mixture or a pie, something you're going to put in the oven. It's going to mix a lot of those ingredients together, and it's going to come out nice and kind of hot and crispy. Most of the product that you're going to put in the pie is pre-cooked or it's ready to be eaten, so you don't have to cook it for a whole long period of time. I mentioned about a half an hour, but you would basically make, obviously check on it and see how we're going. So I'm going to need to add some water. And I'm going to put in about a half a cup of water. This is going to give us some of the liquid that we're going to need. So I'm using a cup. We'll put that about half. Stir that in there. That'll start to give us some of the liquid we're going to need. I'm going to turn that down because now what you're going to do is you're just kind of warming all these ingredients. So we don't want to be frying too much. We don't want it to get too hot or too cooked before we get to the baking part. All right. And again, with like most of the recipes that you see I make and most of the dishes, you can make this dish. I'm calling it a European because not quiche, but shepherd's pie is kind of a European thing, but we're going to fuse it with some Indian spices and some other spices, much like I said, much like many of the meals that I make. You can make it as spicy or as not spicy as you would like, and we are going to add a little bit of spice to this, but I'll just show you that. I think we're kind of ready to add the next one. All right. So we've got about, I would say, a tablespoon or so of whole cumin seeds. You want to use these. And that's going to add some flavor for sure. And I'm going to keep going through this and talking about the ingredients that we're going to add here shortly, right after the break. And we'll keep moving towards our European Indian fusion shepherd's pie. We'll be right back shortly. All right, we're back, and we're going to continue on with our shepherd's pie mix. It's starting to look like what it should. You want this to be a little bit wet. You're going to end up having a little bit of sauce out of it. I think it needs a little bit more water, so I'm just going to add a tiny bit more water. If you kind of know what sloppy joe's like, we just want to make it a little bit sloppier, for lack of a better term. Just going to put a little more water in there. Okay. Just give you one more shot of that. We're going to add about a teaspoon of garam masala. We're going to mix that in there. That's going to give it some of those Indian spices and Indian flavors. Back to our seeds. So cumin seeds. We used whole cumin seeds. And if you're used to using cumin, the powder that you buy in the store or in the spice racks, I think you'll find that you're going to get a lot more flavor from these whole seeds. So that's why we chose to go with that. If you've never tried it, give it a try. It's fantastic. All right. I'm just going to add a tiny bit more water. Just get a little more liquid. There we go. All right, let me take a peek at that. Now it's looking a little bit wetter now. Okay. We're going to add our curry. I have about a tablespoon, I guess, of yellow curry. Again, with anything, curry comes in a bunch of different forms. Some curry, yellow curry is generally sweeter. It's not as spicy. If you go to a red curry or some of the other not as readily available curries, you're going to get a little more heat, a little more spice out of it. But curry mixed with other spices is what gives you that kind of combined smell and combined taste. A lot of people are afraid of anything as soon as they hear the word curry, especially if you're not used to eating it. They think that the dinner will automatically, I mean, I was that way. I used to hear curry and think that, oh boy, it's got to be a spicy dish, but not necessarily the case. So I'm going to sprinkle that in there. Just take my time with it. I want to add too much. I want to take a peek and see what it looks like as we start to add it. It's going to definitely add some yellow in there. Some more in there. Just mixing it carefully so that we actually get a good mix of it. I don't want gobs of it in one particular bite of the pie. So mix that up really, really well. All right, let's finish that. All right, add a little more water again, just another tablespoon or so. Help that soak up some of that curry. Now I'm starting to smell it now. Now we can smell some of those spices. How's that? It's starting to look like what it's supposed to now. So it's a little bit wetter now. So if you noticed earlier, it was quite dry. So we're getting what we're looking for now. If you've seen any of our previous shows, I have tried some new recipes, some new Indian or Thai recipes. We'll try to make sure that we do some dishes that are not as familiar to some of us, but that are, again, relatively easy to make. All right, so that's starting to look like it should. It's definitely wet and definitely thickening up. If you're used to shepherd's pie, you've got that kind of hamburger and peas or potatoes or however you're used to eating it. It's looks quite thick and quite wet before you put it into the pie. We've got a couple more stages to go here, but that's looking like it should. So that's kind of what you're looking for. We're going to add a little bit of liquid here in a second, but that's kind of where you're at before you end up putting that actually into the pie or into your casserole dish. Yeah, that's got lots of smell, lots of flavor now. All right, so when we come back from our break, we're going to add our final ingredients. We're going to take a look and see what we need to do to finish this up. Again, a really easy recipe for you, something that you can use if you want to substitute any of the ingredients. Again, feel free to do that. It's important that you have obviously the curry in there. It's important that you kind of do the steps, but you should be good to go. We'll be right back. Okay, we're back. We're going to finish up the last stages and just taking a peek at our filling. Got one more kind of ingredient to add. We're going to add some of the liquid back into it and certainly some of the taste, and we're going to use a quarter cup of butter chicken sauce. So we're going to put that in there. Might be a little hot. I'm going to turn it down a tiny bit. Turn that off. There we go. There, I've turned it kind of quite low now. All right, and we're going to mix that just similar to how we've done before. So, I was saying earlier, we try a lot of different dishes. If you've seen any of the other shows, we've done all kinds of different things, from desserts such as apple pie. We did apple fritters. Apple fritters was actually something I had never made before, so we made them for the first time on camera. Lots of dishes, lots of things that, chili, one of the meals that was kind of a staple in my house. We made my mom's chili, as I called it. So we've got an episode on chili. We have an episode on what, again, my mother called porcupines. That's a really cool recipe with ground beef and rice, and you make it really, really simple: ground beef, rice, tomato. And then we've got a coconut curry chicken a la king. That's a fantastic blend, similar to what we're doing tonight. A kind of a blend of a bunch of different ideas. All right. All right, so normally what I would do is I would just set that aside. We would take I have sweet potato here, and I'm going to actually put that on and just keep it on low. But for simplicity's sake, we already have pre-cooked sweet potato. So cut it in enough cubes, because we're going to have to mash that. That's going to be actually the top of our shepherd's pie. Okay? So this is already cooked. So really all I'm doing is mashing. Again, this would be part of your prep that you would have to do either ahead of time or the day before, or if you have extra sweet potato, you could use that and make this recipe, after you've had sweet potato. Or if you make sweet potato as a vegetable and you want to make a little extra, you can use it in a meal like this. And you're getting, a lot of really good nutrients, lots of vitamins. Just kind of show you that. And you want it to be mashed up pretty good. All right, let's show you that. And while we're doing that, I'm going to put some turmeric in here. Include that in there. Let's take a peek at that. All right. So I think that looks pretty mashed to me. All right, we're going to take our casserole dish. We're going to take that filling. We're going to fill up that dish. I'll turn that off. We'll just put that aside, actually. Get it out of the picture. All right, we'll just fill that pot up. Fill our casserole dish up. Kind of fill in the corners so that it cooks evenly. We're going to take our topping. I think I'll use the same. We'll use a clean one. Now we're going to top that with the sweet potato. I'll show you that here in a second. We're going to use some garam masala again. We're going to sprinkle that on the top with some cinnamon, a little bit of spice and a little bit of sweetness. And it's ready to go into the oven. So we would be putting that in the oven. I suggested about 350. Remember, all of your ingredients are already cooked. So really you're just trying to bake it and get it nice and hot and have a little bit of a film. So in the absence of saving time, we have a wonderful shepherd's pie all ready to go. So I'm going to just pull that out and show you kind of what the finished product looks like. Like I said, you'd be about 30 minutes. Shut that. If you have these ovens, be very, very careful. The glass is very hot. All right, that's still a little bit hot, so I'll just lift that up so you can take a peek at it. There you go. And you can see the masala and the cinnamon on the top. And it's got a little bit of a crust to it just so that it's ready to go. And there you go, your shepherd's pie.